I never imagined I'd be the one calling the police on my own brother, especially not in the middle of LAX, right as he was about to board another luxury flight. But when over $50,000 disappeared from my bank account, I realized this wasn't just a family issue anymore. It was a crime. Los Angeles, early November. The city was unusually quiet that morning, the sky a pale gray, the kind of stillness that makes you feel like something is about to go wrong. I sat in my corner office on the 19th floor of a downtown high-rise, sipping lukewarm espresso as I stared at the numbers on my screen. At 38, I was a senior financial analyst at a top firm. Numbers were my thing. I noticed everything. So when my phone buzzed with an email notification from the bank, I knew something was off. Alert, unusual activity detected. My stomach dropped. I opened the email and scanned the transactions. Luxury suite at Le Bristol in Paris. First-class flights with Emirates. Private shopping appointments at Cartier, Prada, and Balenciaga. A reservation for 4 at Guy Savoy. The charges totaled just over $50,000. I blinked, stunned. It wasn't me. And no one else had access to my cards, or so I thought. Then, just as I was about to call the bank, I opened Instagram. And there it was. A photo of my parents and my younger brother, Ryan, grinning in front of the Louvre, decked out in designer clothes, champagne flutes in hand. The caption? Living our best lives in Europe airplane, thank you, for the unforgettable trip. My heart sank. Ryan? He didn't even have a full-time job. He'd been coasting on entrepreneurial dreams since he was 20, he was 31 now, and still lived with our parents. Every few months, he had a new scheme. Dropshipping, crypto, NFTs, and most recently, he claimed to be a travel influencer. I scrolled through his feed, France, Italy, Monaco. Lavish dinners, rooftop bars, 5-star hotels. All posted within the last 3 weeks. All on my dime. Just then, a message popped up from my mother. Isn't Ryan amazing? He surprised us with this beautiful trip. You could learn a thing or two from him, Dana. Life's not just about work. I stared at the message, rage and disbelief coursing through me. My parents, who I had supported for years when times were tough, had no idea the trip was funded with stolen money. And worse, they didn't care. They were proud of him. All my life, Ryan was the golden child. Charming, reckless, and irresponsible, yet constantly praised. While I pulled double shifts through college, Ryan was skipping class to hang out at music festivals. I thought I was being the responsible one. Turns out, that just made me the easiest one to take advantage of. I closed my laptop, grabbed my coat, and headed straight to the airport. If Ryan wanted to live like a celebrity, he could deal with the consequences like one too. My parents never questioned it. They gushed over Ryan's designer clothes, his international adventures, the so-called sponsorship deals he bragged about landing. And me? I was always the cold, work-obsessed daughter, too busy with spreadsheets and business meetings to be fun. But this time, Ryan had crossed a line. I remembered the last time he visited my apartment, maybe 3 months ago. He had shown up with a bottle of wine, unusually friendly, even offering to cook dinner. I thought maybe he was turning a corner, finally growing up, taking responsibility. Now, staring at my drained bank account, I knew better. That visit? That was when he stole my credit card. I put my coffee down, my jaw tightening. This wasn't about family anymore. This was theft. I flipped open my laptop and fired off an urgent email to the bank's fraud department. At the same time, I picked up my phone and searched for the contact info of Sarah Evans, a financial crime attorney who had worked with my firm on corporate embezzlement cases. Ryan may have thought he pulled off the con of the year, but this wasn't over. I glanced at my mother's message one more time, took a breath, and typed my reply. Congratulations on your trip. See you at the airport. I have a special surprise prepared. A knot tightened in my chest, not from fear, but from clarity. Ryan hadn't just stolen money, he'd bought my parents' admiration with it. Made me the villain for working hard while he played hero with my credit. But if he thought I'd stay quiet to keep the family peace, he was in for a rude awakening. I sat back and let the memories flood in. Ryan had always been like this. In middle school, he was caught stealing money from a class trip fundraiser. I remember it clearly. Our parents were livid at me. "You're the older sibling," my mom had scolded. "You should have kept an eye on him." I ended up covering the missing $300 from my own savings. In high school, Ryan was caught shoplifting cologne and sunglasses. My parents chalked it up to teenage impulsiveness. I, apparently, was just too uptight to understand. But this? This wasn't a prank or a youthful mistake. This was over $50,000. I confirmed the credit card lock and requested a full breakdown of the transactions. I needed every detail documented. Then I dialed Sarah's number. She picked up on the second ring. "I need to report a case of credit card fraud," I said immediately. "Of course. Do you have an idea who's behind it?" she asked, her voice calm and efficient. There was a long pause before I answered. "My brother." She didn't miss a beat. "Understood. We'll handle it carefully." For the first time in days, I felt something close to peace. Ryan may have fooled everyone else, but he'd made one mistake. He underestimated the wrong sister. My parents never questioned it. They gushed over Ryan's designer clothes, his international adventures, the so-called sponsorship deals he bragged about landing. And me? I was always the cold, work-obsessed daughter, too busy with spreadsheets and business meetings to be fun. But this time, Ryan had crossed a line. I remembered the last time he visited my apartment, maybe 3 months ago. He had shown up with a bottle of wine, unusually friendly, even offering to cook dinner. I thought maybe he was turning a corner, finally growing up, taking responsibility. Now, staring at my drained bank account, I knew better. That visit? That was when he stole my credit card. I put my coffee down, my jaw tightening. This wasn't about family anymore. This was theft. I flipped open my laptop and fired off an urgent email to the bank's fraud department. At the same time, I picked up my phone and searched for the contact info of Sarah Evans, a financial crime attorney who had worked with my firm on corporate embezzlement cases. Ryan may have thought he pulled off the con of the year, but this wasn't over. I glanced at my mother's message one more time, took a breath, and typed my reply. "Congratulations on your trip. See you at the airport. I have a special surprise prepared." A knot tightened in my chest, not from fear, but from clarity. Ryan hadn't just stolen money, he'd bought my parents' admiration with it. Made me the villain for working hard while he played hero with my credit. But if he thought I'd stay quiet to keep the family peace, he was in for a rude awakening. I sat back and let the memories flood in. Ryan had always been like this. In middle school, he was caught stealing money from a class trip fundraiser. I remember it clearly. Our parents were livid at me. "You're the older sibling," my mom had scolded. "You should have kept an eye on him." I ended up covering the missing $300 from my own savings. In high school, Ryan was caught shoplifting cologne and sunglasses. My parents chalked it up to teenage impulsiveness. I, apparently, was just too uptight to understand. But this? This wasn't a prank or a youthful mistake. This was over $50,000. I confirmed the credit card lock and requested a full breakdown of the transactions. I needed every detail documented. Then I dialed Sarah's number. She picked up on the second ring. "I need to report a case of credit card fraud," I said immediately. "Of course. Do you have an idea who's behind it?" she asked, her voice calm and efficient. There was a long pause before I answered. "My brother." She didn't miss a beat. "Understood. We'll handle it carefully." For the first time in days, I felt something close to peace. Ryan may have fooled everyone else, but he'd made one mistake. He underestimated the wrong sister. I understand. We'll proceed based on the evidence. Can you meet me this afternoon? I'll be there, I replied. I closed my laptop and grabbed my phone, pulling up Ryan's Instagram account. Post after post, I started taking screenshots, videos from five-star hotels in Paris, selfies in first-class lounges, champagne toasts with our parents, and carefully curated shots of designer shopping bags lined up on hotel beds. Every single image was evidence. A digital breadcrumb trail of theft. Then I logged into the portal for my apartment's security system and rewound the footage from the day Ryan came over. I hadn't thought twice about it then. He was unusually warm, helpful even. He'd offered to clean up after dinner. I had been fooled. I paused the footage at a telling moment. Ryan hovered near the console table where I always left my wallet. I watched, my heart sinking, as he slipped my credit card into his jacket pocket while pretending to tidy up. No hesitation. No guilt. He hadn't accidentally used my card. He had stolen it. That afternoon, I arrived at Sarah Evans' office in downtown LA. The space was sleek and professional, just like her. I laid everything out, printed bank statements, a flash drive of surveillance footage, and dozens of screenshots from Ryan's Instagram. Sarah reviewed everything carefully, nodding. We have more than enough to press charges. I want him arrested the moment he lands, I said, my voice firm. No more second chances. No more cleaning up after him. Sarah looked at me closely. Once the police are involved, this will escalate. This won't just be a family issue anymore. Are you absolutely sure you want to do this? I didn't flinch. I've never been more sure of anything. Do it. With a nod, she picked up the phone and called the LA Financial Crimes Division. Ryan thought he had pulled the ultimate con. He had no idea that the moment he stepped off that plane from Europe, the show would be over, and this time, he wouldn't be able to charm his way out. That evening, I returned to my apartment. The glow of downtown Los Angeles lit up my windows, but I wasn't in the mood to enjoy the view. My phone buzzed. A message from Mom. Dana, we land tomorrow morning. Ryan has been so amazing. You should take a lesson from your brother. Hope you'll be there to welcome us. I stared at the message. My lips curled into a cold smile. Don't worry, Mom, I typed back. I'll be there. And I've got a special surprise ready. On the desk beside me sat a printed copy of Ryan's arrest warrant. Tomorrow, when my brother strutted off that plane, basking in the glow of fake followers and filtered photos, he'd be met not with applause, but with handcuffs. I went to bed early that night, setting out a tailored black suit and polishing my shoes. The morning air in LA was crisp when I stepped out, but inside, I was on fire. It was time. Today wasn't just the day Ryan got arrested. It was the day I took my power back. I arrived at LAX a full 30 minutes ahead of schedule, standing near the international arrivals terminal. The place buzzed with noise, flashing arrival boards, voices over the intercom, the clatter of rolling suitcases, but I only had eyes for one thing, the 10:15 a.m. flight from Paris. Beside me stood Sarah Evans, holding a folder with every document we'd prepared. A few feet away, two detectives from the Los Angeles Financial Crimes Division lingered in plain clothes. Calm. Focused. Ready. We won't move right away, Detective Martinez said. We want to see how your family reacts when the truth hits them. I gave a short nod. So did I. I glanced at my phone. A message from Mom, just 10 minutes ago. Dana, Ryan says he has a surprise for the whole family when we land. You're going to love it. I stared at the words, my fingers curling around the phone. A surprise? Oh, Ryan thought he was about to walk off that plane like a celebrity, showered in praise, admired for his generosity. What he didn't know was that a reckoning waited behind those sliding glass doors. The screen updated. Flight from Paris, landed. My pulse kicked up. I took a slow, steady breath. The doors opened. Travelers poured out into the terminal, jet-lagged and dazed, dragging luggage and searching for familiar faces. Then I saw them. My father stepped out first, wearing a charcoal wool coat that practically screamed luxury. He wheeled a suitcase like he was born to glide through airports. My mother followed, wearing a silk Hermès scarf tied delicately around her neck, her smile wide, eyes sparkling. And then, there he was. Ryan. Wavy hair carefully tousled. Gold-rimmed sunglasses that probably cost more than my monthly rent. A tailored Burberry coat. A Birkin bag, clearly my mother's but slung casually over his arm like a prop. He looked like he'd just finished a shoot for a luxury travel magazine. And he was beaming. "Dana. You actually came to pick us up," he said with a flash of teeth, walking toward me in pristine sneakers that probably hadn't touched dirt once. The trip was incredible. Did you see the photos? Mom and Dad had the time of their lives. I finally got to give something back to the family. I stood still, arms crossed, gaze cool. With whose money, Ryan? He paused, a flicker of uncertainty flashing behind his glasses. Then he chuckled and waved a hand. "Oh, come on. Don't be so dramatic. I knew you'd get like this. It's just a little money." I tilted my head. Just a little money? You call over $50,000 from my credit card a little? His smile faltered. Just slightly. Enough to know he felt it. The shift. And then the detectives began to move. Before he could respond, a firm voice rang out behind him. "Ryan Carter?" Ryan froze mid-step as two detectives approached, their badges already out. "We're with the Los Angeles Police Department. You're under arrest for theft, financial fraud, and unauthorized credit card use." Everything around us went silent. My parents' jaws dropped, my mother's face turning pale in an instant. What?" she gasped, eyes wide, blinking in disbelief. "This has to be some kind of mistake." But Ryan didn't say a word. Not at first. Then, as the detectives reached for his wrists, he panicked. No, wait, this isn't real," he shouted, stumbling backward. "She set me up. Dana's always hated me. I did this for you," he yelled, pointing at our parents. "I made you proud. I gave you everything." My father instinctively pulled my mother aside, shielding her. Both looked completely lost, like they were watching a nightmare play out in real time. I stepped forward slowly, my eyes locked with Ryan's. "You stole from me, just to buy their admiration?" I asked, voice low but sharp. "You emptied their retirement accounts, lied to investors, and scammed strangers online so they'd think you were the hero." Ryan's face turned ghostly pale. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. One of the detectives held up a file. "Ryan Carter, you're being charged with withdrawing over $250,000 from your parents' accounts without their knowledge. Additionally, we've tracked 30 separate fraudulent transactions tied to fake online ventures under your name, targeting victims through social media. The total damages exceed $800,000. No way," my mother whispered, staggering slightly. My father grabbed her arm to keep her steady, his own face drawn in gray. They had always believed Ryan was the golden child, the charming one, the successful one. And now? They were watching that illusion collapse in public. Ryan wasn't the generous son. He was a criminal. Tears streamed down his face, dragging dark streaks of concealer with them. His expensive jacket was wrinkled. His composure was gone. "Dana," he pleaded, voice shaking. "Please. Help me. You can fix this. You always do." I folded my arms. "No," I said, flatly. "Not this time. I've saved you enough." The officers cuffed him. "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Ryan barely fought back. He just kept looking at me like he couldn't believe this was happening. But it was. All around us, travelers slowed to watch. Phones hovered midair, whispers rippled through the terminal. The performance was over. But I knew one thing for sure. This was just the beginning. The steady stream of flight announcements echoed overhead, final calls, arrivals, delays. But for my parents, the world had gone utterly silent. My mother, Linda Carter, stood frozen. The woman who'd strutted off the plane draped in silk and luxury, now looked like a shadow of herself. Her posture wilted, her complexion drained of all color. She clutched her designer purse like it could anchor her back to reality. My father, David Carter, still gripped his suitcase handle. Knuckles white. Lips pressed in a hard line. The quiet tremble in his hand was the only sign of what he felt inside, clinging to the hope that somehow, this was all just a misunderstanding. I turned toward them, my voice steady, cold but controlled. Mom. Dad. Do you still think Ryan's your perfect son? My mother looked up, eyes wide with panic. Dana, you don't understand, she pleaded. He's not a bad person. Maybe he just made some mistakes. He's still your brother. I folded my arms, staring straight into her denial. Mistakes? I echoed. Do you even know how much money he stole from your retirement accounts? Her mouth opened, but no words came. Just fear. I reached into my bag and pulled out the folder Sarah had prepared. The statements were crisp, every page stamped with cold, brutal truth. I held them up so neither of them could look away. $250,000, I said flatly. My father took a shaky breath. No, that can't be, he muttered. I stepped closer, tapping the numbers. It's all here. Every unauthorized withdrawal. Every forged transfer. And that's not even the worst of it, I added. He also spent over 50 grand on this trip, using my credit card. And he scammed dozens of people online with fake investment schemes. Total damages? I let the silence stretch. Over $800,000. My father stared at me, unblinking. The number hit him like a punch. Too large. Too shameful. Too real. My mother shook her head violently. No, Ryan wouldn't. He just wanted to give us something nice. He just wanted us to be proud of him. I tilted my head, voice low. Make you proud? By stealing? By lying? By bankrupting the people who always defended him, no matter what. She covered her mouth, like she was trying to stop herself from screaming. My father, silent all this time, slowly pulled out his phone. His hand shook as he opened their banking app. My mother leaned in, holding her breath. Then, he almost dropped the phone. His voice cracked. There's only $5,000 left. Time froze. The overhead announcements, the noise of suitcases rolling, the murmur of travelers, it all faded. My mother's legs gave out. I reached for her instinctively, but she pulled away, stunned. They had defended Ryan their entire lives. And now, they had nothing left. Ryan took everything. And yet, I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt tired. My mother collapsed into a nearby seat and began to cry, not soft tears, but deep, broken sobs. The kind that come from a place beyond sadness. The kind that happen when something you believed in completely shatters. In a way, she had lost everything. Not just the money. Not just the trip. But the image of the son she thought was perfect. My father sat down next to her, his hands gripping his head like he was trying to physically hold his world together. Where did we go wrong? He whispered. I stood still, watching the people who had spent a lifetime idolizing Ryan now crumble in front of me. It was surreal. I slowly sat down beside them. My voice was low, steady. Do you want to know why Ryan turned out like this? My father looked up at me, eyes red and glassy. His voice cracked. Because we spoiled him too much. I nodded slightly. Since he was little, you both taught him that he could get away with anything. That you'd always be there to clean it up, to defend him, to excuse him. He was never made to take responsibility for anything. That's why he's in custody right now. My mother reached for my hand, gripping it like it was her only anchor to reality. Dana. I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. We were so blind. It was the first time in my life I'd heard my mother admit she was wrong. I didn't answer immediately. I just squeezed her hand gently. Now's not the time for guilt, I said. We have to fix this. All of us. My father took a shaky breath and gave a slight nod. What do we do? I looked at them both, and for the first time, they looked at me like they were truly ready to listen. You both have to change. No more blind loyalty. No more covering for him, or anyone. You have to take control of your lives again. They nodded. Slowly. But they meant it. 2 weeks later, Ryan's trial took place. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison for credit card fraud, theft, and multiple counts of online investment scams. His accounts were frozen. All his luxury items, his fake brand lifestyle, confiscated and liquidated to pay back his victims. I later heard that in prison, Ryan had started studying accounting. Irony at its finest. But maybe, for the first time in his life, he was learning how to build something the right way. 3 months after the arrest, my parents started therapy. My father enrolled in financial management courses. He wanted to learn how to protect what was left. My mother began volunteering with victims of elder financial fraud, because she had become one of them. And me? I changed too. I was no longer the quiet daughter in the background, apologizing for everyone else's mistakes. I was finally done hiding. I had reclaimed my voice. I set clear boundaries. I helped my parents, but I no longer allowed them to take advantage of my kindness or guilt. For the first time, it felt like my family was truly, finally, moving forward. 6 months later, I received a letter in the mail. The envelope was plain, the handwriting surprisingly neat. It was from Ryan. Dana. Every day in prison, I think about everything I did. I used to believe life was about status, about appearances and likes and followers. But now I realize that was all a facade. For the first time in my life, I'm working for something real. For the first time, I'm not lying to anyone. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, and maybe you never will. But I hope, one day, we can be a real family again. Ryan. I stared at the letter for a long time before folding it and putting it away. I didn't know what the future would look like. But I knew one thing with certainty: we had changed. I had changed. And that was enough. Family doesn't have to be perfect. What matters is that we learn from our mistakes, and start valuing the things that really matter. That morning, I received a text from my mom. Dana. I have a cooking class at the support center today. Your dad's going to his financial course. Are you free this weekend? Let's have lunch, just us. I smiled. If someone had told me 6 months ago that my parents would change, I would have laughed. But now? They were slowly becoming the people I had always needed them to be. They no longer idolized Ryan. They had learned to manage their money. They stopped chasing luxury. And for the first time in my life, they had started to see me. I wasn't haunted by old wounds anymore. I had let go, not for Ryan's sake, but for mine. I joined an organization that supports financial fraud victims. I started sharing my story, hoping it might help others avoid the kind of betrayal I went through. I began doing things I had put off for years, reading more, traveling, meeting friends. Life wasn't just about work anymore. It was about living. That weekend, I met my parents at a little cafe in our old neighborhood. A place we hadn't visited in years. My father still dressed neatly, but now his warmth felt genuine. My mother smiled, real, open, unburdened. Dana, she called, waving me over. I sat down and ordered a coffee. For the first time, there wasn't a wall between us. I know the past hasn't been fair to you, my mom began, her voice trembling. We've made so many mistakes. I said nothing, letting her speak. But we want to change. And more than anything, we want to rebuild things, with you. I looked at my dad. He gave me a quiet, steady nod. We always thought Ryan was the one to be proud of, he said. But we were wrong. The one who's truly strong, who's truly earned our respect, is you. A lump formed in my throat. I had waited my whole life to hear those words. Thank you, I whispered. Let's start over. They smiled. For the first time in years, I felt like I had a family. That night, I stepped out onto my balcony, the lights of Los Angeles glittering beneath me. The city hadn't changed. But I had. I was no longer Dana Carter, the overlooked daughter. I was Dana Carter, a woman who had learned her worth, and wasn't afraid to protect it. I took a sip of my coffee and looked up at the stars. Family doesn't have to be perfect. What matters is that we face our flaws, own our mistakes, and choose love that's built on truth, not illusion. No family is flawless. The difference between a broken family and a healed one lies in what they do when the truth finally comes out. Dana's parents were blinded by favoritism, but in the end, they chose to change. And through that choice, they found something real. So don't be afraid to confront the truth. Even if it hurts. Because healing starts the moment we stop running. I didn't share all of this because I wanted pity. I shared it because I know I'm not alone. Maybe you've been overlooked in your own family. Maybe you've stayed silent to keep the peace. Maybe you've been hurt by the people you trusted most. If any of that sounds familiar, then I want you to hear me clearly, you matter, and your pain is valid. This journey wasn't easy. Calling the police on my own brother was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But I did it because I finally realized I was worth protecting, too. For too long, I let loyalty override my boundaries. I confused kindness with weakness. But healing started the moment I chose to stand up, for myself. So now, I'm asking you, what would you say to me if I were your sister, your daughter, your friend? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your support, or even your own story. Let's turn this into a conversation, not just a video. And if you're going through something similar, if someone is crossing your boundaries, if your worth is constantly questioned, I want you to know this: you don't have to keep shrinking to make others comfortable. You can still love people and hold them accountable. You can set boundaries and be compassionate. You can start over. I did. Now I invite you to do the same. Subscribe to the channel if you want more stories like this, stories about strength, redemption, and finding your voice again. And please, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because maybe, just maybe, this is the start of your story, too.